Hello friends, this is Ray here with you, and in this lesson we will create our draft character. Let's view our reference image. There it is. And in the last lesson we have already personalized the interface. Let's begin. Go to the Create menu, NURBS Primitives, and make sure the Interactive Creation option is deselected or unchecked. We can create this draft with polygon primitives as well as NURBS. I prefer to use NURBS because it's a bit faster, but you can use both options. It's all up to you. We create a sphere. Let's zoom in here a bit. And we will start by creating the shape of the leg of the robot, keeping relatively the same size. To start, there's no need to worry so much about the details yet. We only want to create the rough form. Okay, let's begin to work on this shape and bring it to the desired scale. We keep working on this shape, and if we select here the points on the bottom, we want to make that a little bit larger. When we reference our image, we can tell that the shape is narrow at the top and it widens toward the bottom of the leg. So we will start to give form to this shape here. We also want to keep the bottom flat, simulating the foot. To align it to the grid, just hold down the X key and we can adhere to the grid here. So now we have the rough shape of the robot leg, and the side or lateral view of the leg will have about the same form for now. Remember, we are looking for general shapes right now without any detail. Alright, now we will create another sphere for the torso. Bring up the Create menu, go to NURBS Primitives, Sphere, and we can start to shape the torso. As we continue here, you will see the character take form. For now, don't worry for any detail. We just want the general shape. So we're working on the bottom part of the torso, and we're going to scale it here and start to put it in place. Referring to the image, we notice that there is a space between the torso and the top of the leg. That is the area we are looking at. So let's go back and work on the top part of the torso. Control D will duplicate this shape. Now we can work on the top portion here. This part has a greater volume, and we also want to look here at the lateral view to make the adjustment. And it's looking somewhat like this. Since we only have the front view image and no lateral view image, we have to use our imagination a little bit to see where everything is placed and the proportions. Once we have the torso, we can then continue on the upper portion of our character. Again, we can duplicate the shape with Control D. And let's bring it a little bit higher and increase the size, making it a little bit wider. As you can see, these spheres here are shaping our draft character now. Let's go back to the reference image, and our model is looking a lot better. Now we will work on these three claw-like parts that we see here on the foot. I will start with the front one, which is the biggest one. Also remember, you can use the polygon tool, but I prefer to use the NURBS. We are only looking to create the general form right now. Once we start on the detail work, the polygon tool will come in handy. Let's make some adjustments. I will select and start to shape the foot to replicate that claw-like feature. Also, let's make sure that it's aligned with the rest of the leg, and we want to make sure it's well placed on the grid. Take a look at the reference picture, and we can see the placement of the two other smaller features on the side of the foot. It looks like this front one is more narrow. Let's scale it down a little bit. Once we make that adjustment, let's come back through the menu here and select Object Mode. And with Control D, duplicate, we can then rotate this piece into place and input 90 degrees. And of course, scale it down in size, making some adjustments, aligning it on the leg. Now take a look at the reference image. We can check the size, proportion, and position relative to the rest of the features on the robot. Once we verify and make any needed adjustments, now we can continue to the other side. So once again, we can duplicate this shape. We bring up the hotbox menu, select Freeze Transformation, bring it over to the near side, and here on the scale X, we input -1 as the value so we can invert this piece. Remember to first freeze transformations from the hotbox menu. Adjust the piece into place and check our reference. Alright, we can see the leg of the robot, and let's advance to the arm. It's important to continue the progress and not to get caught up on small details so that we can give the shape to the whole character. Looking at the shoulder, it's also in the sphere shape, and I will just select and duplicate this one. I will adjust it so that it's rounder. Looking at our guide, I can reference and notice that the shoulder is aligned with the far lateral part of our robot leg. So I will make that adjustment here. Let's take a look, and looks like we could make it a bit smaller. That is the point where the arm will connect. Let's go back to the reference image to look at the arm portion of our model. And it looks here like a sphere shape, so we can duplicate that with Control D. And from a lateral view, it looks like a sphere, but from a frontal view, we can tell that part is a little more narrow. So we're going to make the adjustments on this frontal view, remembering to align it with the leg and keeping all the proportions to scale. From there, we can continue with the bicep portion of the arm. Again, we can take a look at our reference image and duplicate this sphere by Control D. Okay, there's the bicep. Control D, we can duplicate that. We can move it down for the bicep and stretch it out a little bit. So looking at the reference image, we can see the position of the arm is slightly toward the rear of the robot. Let's press Insert to bring up Pivot mode. And we will bring up this pivot by the shoulder. Press Insert once again to exit, and we can slightly rotate like so and adjust to scale. Looking back at the image, we also notice a wide stance in the arms, so we will also rotate along the Z-axis. Now, let's determine the location of the elbow and how the arm is bent. We can cross-reference it here right above the hip or toward the bottom of the torso. Quickly verify. So it will be this bottom piece here. We will align the joint with this piece. So from this point, we can also see the hand placement and reference where it ends, which is about the mid portion of the leg. Now we can get a better reference, and we can also get a better read. Also, let's look at all these circular features and shapes in our robot. We want to look at all the main ones in our character, and we can also begin to add them. The first one we will add is the one here on the chest. Let's begin with that one. So let's return to Maya and create a new sphere. We will bring it into place toward the front. We will adjust it, adjust the size and position, make sure it's well aligned. This will give us a better cross-reference for all the other pieces that we will add to the robot. Let's check and verify the position with our reference image, making the adjustments and make sure our model's looking good. So now we will create the head, and it seems to be slightly smaller than the sphere here on the chest. So we will duplicate this one, Control D, and size is a bit smaller. We can check the image and see that the front part is pronounced a little more outward than the head. So we come back and make the necessary adjustments, bringing that piece out. Now we can see the position of the head, and we will also do the same for this circle shape on the leg. From the picture, we can tell it is slightly below the middle part of the leg. So let's use this one and duplicate it. We position it below the middle and start to flatten it out. We move it closer into place, and again we're constantly cross-checking the image for the location and size. There we see it, so we can tell we're in the right place. We can also use this square here to scale on these two axes. Let's take a look now, and we start to get a better read. We can easily adjust the angle as well to make sure that it's aligned with the rest of the leg. See, it's slightly at an angle, so we will do that here in our model as well. And there it is. Now let's continue on to this front part of the robot leg. We can see these cables or bars type of feature, and they are right above the round shape on the side of the leg. The way we can do this to represent that feature and show this opening is we will be adding more volume on the bottom and the top part of the leg. We will duplicate this shape with Control D, and we will bring it up slightly and outward. We will size it to scale and start to position the piece. So we can tell this is the top part, and we will do the same for the bottom piece as well. We will duplicate this shape and bring it toward the bottom, and likewise we will begin to size and scale it and bring it into position. This process can seem a bit odd, but you will see how much it will really help us later when we are really starting to develop our character. So we see here the reference, and we see this bottom part reaches right above that circular feature on the side of the leg on the lateral part. We can select vertex, and we rotate the X axis, and using our reference shape we can verify the position. So we can tell that this opening here is not very big. We can tell its height is similar to the diameter of the circular feature on the bottom portion of the leg here. So we can come back and make that adjustment. Select the vertex and adjust the height. Also notice that the area above the opening is smaller than the area below the opening. So we can go back to our model and check those proportions. We will make the bottom part wider to cover the whole front of the leg. So we select these vertex and we start to adjust to cover the front part of the leg here. Make that adjustment on both sides. Excellent. Now we can continue and create those cables or bar features that we see on our reference image here. So to do that, we go to Create, NURBS, and select Sphere. You can tell I like to use mainly spheres, even though we are creating a cylinder shape. We can easily create that shape with a sphere. We just scale it to size and desired shape. You can also do that with the polygon tool for more detail. For this draft, I am only looking for the general form and not the detail. We will cover that in other lessons. We can see here that there are 3 main cylinders. So I want to adjust it and put it into place here. And we can see the three main cylinders on there. So we can go back and duplicate this piece. And what I want to do with these other pieces is I want to vary the angle. I don't want too much symmetry within these shapes because I want to give it a more of a realistic view. And there we see that. So we have placed that feature there as well. And okay, friends, we will be ending our lesson here for today, and we will continue with our draft character in the following lessons. And I look forward to seeing you on our next lesson.